One of the issues new authors often find is that barrier towards thinking about writing a book at all, because it's perceived as hard, as difficult. Now, I blame creative writing courses for that. That sort of think you need to do all this stuff before you start writing a fiction novel. But I'm here to tell you that writing a book is very similar to writing an article, and that maybe if you shift your perspective and think of it that way, it'll make your book writing so much easier. Hi there. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lisa Oliver. I write paranormal romance stories, and basically if you Google Lisa Oliver anywhere, you'll find out where I am and what I do. But the point for this video is that I have written over 100 titles in the last 10 years. My publiversary is coming up actually on February the 26th, 2024. It'll be my 10-year publiversary, where I have been supporting myself solely through writing my fiction stories and self-publishing them on Amazon. So I do feel a little bit qualified in this regard. But what I wanted to explain was that one of the things that I find, or that I hear from new authors, and I do, like, I open myself up to new authors all the time. I am trying to help. I love the fact that people, ordinary people just like me, can just write their stories, and they can put them up on Amazon, and they have that potential to make so much money. As I say, my writing is my only income, and I want to see so many other people do this too. So you're thinking about writing a book, but then you think about plotting and planning and world building and character building and all this sort of thing. And the thing is if you've done any course at all about how to write a book, it is overwhelming the amount of information they think you need to have to tell a story. It's mind-blowing. Mind blown. I don't have any of that when I write my stories. So let's look at some similarities between writing a book and writing an article. Okay, the first thing you're going to need is a title, right? And if you were writing an article, like for Medium, for example, if you saw my last video that was talking about why don't go on Medium, don't use Medium, go on Amazon instead. You will see, you need the title, right? But the neat thing about book writing is you don't need to have that title already determined before you start your book. You can just open up the first page of your document, and you can type in a working title by your author name, and then you click in a page break and type chapter 1. There you go. You've already started. Now, the other similarities with an article is that an article is broken up into, it's got its header, the title, then it's got subheaders underneath. Well, books have got chapters, so they have the same thing. It's just these passages in the books are longer. That's all. Just look upon them as extra sections that all follow towards a logical conclusion, which both an article and a novel will do. Boom. Same sort of format. Now, another similarity is when you're writing an article, obviously, if you want somebody to read it, you need to grab them in the first couple of sentences. Well, the good news is it's the same with a novel. If you're writing a novel, short story, whatever, you've got to grab people, but you've got more than a couple of sentences. You can actually get away with about a page, where you want to dive your reader into your world and have them feel like they're in the action already, and they keep reading to find out what happens next. There we go. So there's another similarity. Oh, what was the other thing that I was thinking about? You can keep your sections short if the idea about writing huge amounts of text, if you shift your perception, you can actually find that's really liberating. Because unlike with an article where you've got only a very concise and set word count for trying to impart the information you want to do. When you're telling a story, you know for yourself, you don't have to worry about those things. You tell the story as it comes naturally. You finish one section and go on to the next chapter naturally without considering a word count restriction. And that is really empowering, particularly if you are a pantser author, because this is the next point where article writing and novel writing are the same. You can either be a pantser or a plotter or a plantser in either situation. If you're one of those people that plots and prefers to plot out your articles, then it makes sense you're going to do the same when you do your novel, if you were writing a novel. But you don't have to go into the huge amount of detail unless you want to. There are people, I've been watching some videos recently about people who are generating their stories with AI. And while I don't hold with doing that myself, because I don't believe AI can write with the same passion and experience that a human can at this point in time, in another year's time, I could be totally proved wrong, who knows? But the thing is that those people really love to get into their world building. Their time isn't spent so much in writing, it is spent in developing the characters, the bios, the world, their places, the lore, everything else. And if you were writing a book with AI, you do need to do that, because otherwise the AI is just going to go off willy-nilly and just write all by itself, which isn't necessarily what you were looking for. But you are writing your own stories, so you don't have to be as detailed. If it is easier for you to write on a plan, then do so. But just sketch it out. In chapter 1, they're going to do this. In chapter 2, they're going to do this. In chapter 3, they're going to do this. If you have a little bit of a struggle working out how to structure your book, because of course it's longer than an article, look at something like, I haven't got it on my desk, but Save the Cat. Save the Cat is what I recommend to new authors if they are looking for a way to adequately plot and plan their novel. It's very simple. It's easy to follow. It works. So I will drop a link to that book down below. Yes, it is an affiliate link, but if I have to recommend anybody, if they want help with learning how to structure their planning of their novel, I recommend Save the Cat, because it applies across such a wide range of genres and it is really easy and simple to follow. So do that. But you don't need, if you're a pantser, if you say, oh, well, I couldn't write a book because I just write my novels, my articles off the top of my head, that's fine. You can do the same thing with a novel. And in fact, this is something that is really hard to explain unless somebody has actually done it. But for argument's sake, when I sit down and write a book, I know what genre it's going to be in, because all of my books are MM paranormal or MM fantasy romances, right? Everything I've written, it's all I do. So I know I'm going to have a minimum of 2 main characters. I know they're going to, I write a lot of fated mates. I think in all of my stories, 4 aren't fated mates. They are in my arranged marriage series. So in 100% of my books, my characters are brought together by something, whether it be fate's design or a marriage contract for political reasons or whatever. That's what I do. I like the idea. I've always loved the idea of putting people together and then making them work it out. I think that's fascinating to me. I just do. I don't believe in insta-love. I haven't got a problem with insta-lust, but I don't believe in insta-love. I believe that love is a journey, and it's that journey that my characters go on that form my books. So But that's it. That's all I know. And I only know that because that's all I've been writing for the last 10 years. So I can sit down with 2 new characters and I can, and I can think, I'll get a scene in my head. I'll be doing something random, cooking a meal, doing the dishes, folding laundry, whatever, it doesn't matter. And I'll get this idea in my head and I'll think, ooh, ooh, ooh. And if you've got a brain that goes, what if, then you know what I'm thinking about. You know what I'm talking about. It's that whole, what if we did this? And then I'll go and write it. And every single time, I can say this categorically without fail, every single time I have sat down to write a book, I have had no idea how it's going to end. None at all. I have no idea where my characters are going to take me. I have no idea where it's going to end up. And I love that. I love that. In fact, I got myself into trouble once when I was writing my book. And I honestly thought the way it had come around by about halfway through the book, I genuinely believed there was actually no way this couple could be together at all, but it was a fated mate story, so they had to be. And I really, really, truly believed that I'd actually written myself into a corner and was starting to eye my delete button. Like, how much of it would I need to delete to try and save it? Where would I have to turn the story so that it worked? But I just kept writing and it worked. It did work out because sometimes love looks different for different people. So anyway, I resolved the problem and I finished the book and I was really pleased, and so were my readers. So that was really awesome. But that whole thing about plotting or pantsing, it might seem daunting to pants a novel, but that is just a mindset. Flip it on its head. Look at it as being empowering. When I sit down to write my novels every day, it's sort of like, oh, what are my characters going to get up to today? And they and myself goes on an adventure through my fingers. And I love that. And you can do that. And if you've done that in articles, you can do that when you're writing a novel as well. Now, the whole point of this video was because I wanted to try and break down one of the barriers that new authors in particular have. When they think about writing a book, it can seem really daunting. And that mental idea of it seeming daunting, being overwhelming, feeling insurmountable, it puts you off from starting. My friends, you won't know until you open up your Word document and type chapter 1 if you can do it or not. But what have you got to lose by giving it a try? And I tell you why I know that this is a mindset thing, was that for years, before I ever started writing novels, I wrote nonfiction. You give me a topic in 3 days and I can regurgitate a whole shit ton of stuff about anything. That's just my little superpower, and I've always been able to do it. And while I was raising 6 kids, it was a really valid thing that I could do because I was living in rural New Zealand, and believe me, the opportunities for employment were zero. So I made our extra money writing online, writing nonfiction. But I had always believed that I couldn't write fiction. I believed my dialogue was stilted. I believed I just didn't have that mindset necessary. I looked at the whole thing about plotting characters and worlds and things like that, and I was just like, put that in the too hard basket. And I didn't do it until I decided, when I was sitting in a house all alone because my husband of the time was working, my kids had all grown and left home, and I had been mourning the death of my father for 6 months. And the way that manifested was watching the Food Channel for 6 months. And I was getting bored with myself. And I heard about NaNoWriMo. And as I say, that story I've told many times. I sat down to write on the 1st of November 2013. And by November 30th, I had written a book and a half. and I haven't looked back. But it was because all that was stopping me was the fact that I thought I couldn't do it. And myself is really good about that. When I think that about myself will make sure that comes true so that I'm always right. All I think is how much more I could have written so far if I'd actually believed in myself a little sooner. So that's what I'm asking you to do, my friends. If you feel the idea of writing a novel is insurmountable, look upon it as just writing a longer article. Take away that barrier. Take away those mental perceptions that writing a book is hard, and think instead that this is an adventure. This is enjoyable. This is fun. You have got a wonderful, unique mind. And when you sit down to write, just imagine you're telling your story to a friend, your best friend, and start typing. Because honestly, there really isn't any difference between writing an article or writing a novel. It's just one of them takes longer than the other. I hope this was helpful to you, my friends. If it was, please hit the like button because that truly helps my channel. If you would like to learn more about writing a book, self-publishing your book, making money, marketing, all those things connected with being a full-time author, which is what I'm trying to share for you, then please hit the subscribe button. If you have any questions, if you think there's something I've glaringly overlooked, tell me in the comments because I respond to everyone. And in the meantime, hug the ones you love, my friends. Keep writing, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.